Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Was just getting a little bit of a workout in before I do this video. Real talk though, it actually has been a minute since I have done anything resembling a workout. Because just like, oh god, I got to adjust the camera now. There we go. First off, what's up, guys? How we doing? Welcome to another episode of Full Blast. We're going Suns Out, Guns Out today. Today is a Suns Out, Guns Out day. It is very warm here in Los Angeles today, but more importantly, I feel like it. That's why I'm doing it. So, there's the class videos came out today, and there was that video on like animatronics, and there was the video on the chronotype, and I listened to them and I was thinking about it, and it's certainly something that has been on my mind with respect to OP, and really thinking about like it was brought up in the class, like nature versus nurture, and like how much is nature and how much is nurture. Obviously, nurture has to play a part of it. But I think my personal belief, based on the data that I have seen and the people they have typed and all the yada yada, I think the biggest thing is that I do think that on some level, I think our functions are genetic. 100%. I think the functions are genetic. I would even go so far as to say that the function order, like the function stack, that also feels pretty genetic. Like I'm never going to be ESFP guy. I'm not going to be ESFP guy. That is not how I am built. They were talking about, Mila Kunis and Vanessa Hudgens, which, as a side note, again, this is specifically to the animatronics video. I want to encourage everybody to take that video with a very large grain of salt, because there is such a component of celebrity in that whole video, right? Like, we are taking humans who we have decided are conventional, like particularly with the women. I absolutely believe the Will Ferrell, Chad Smith thing. Great, fine, for sure. But like Mila Kunis versus Vanessa Hudgens, how much of their look is authentic and them and whatever, and how much of their look is coached and produced, and if I accentuate these parts of my jaw, my publicist says this and that. So like, just know that there is a layer of that. There is a layer of image craft there to an extent, but I do think that there is something on some level to this idea of we are built in a certain way, based on our type. So let's unpack this. Let's actually think about this and see what's going on. And more importantly, I'm not interested in looking at this from can I accurately type correctly, right? Because there's a lot of biases, their data set, they're mostly typing, yes, they're typing client like now at this point, but also they're typing people who come to them, rather than a true random sample. So like, again, let's not, I think their data set is valid enough, but it is not a perfect data set. They recognize it's not a perfect data set. That's all I'm saying. So why did I start this video with me doing the bicep curls? Well, one, just because I wanted to clown around and do some bicep curls. But more importantly, I started the video that way because once I started working out back in early 2017, that was a major watershed moment for me personally. And I would say that of all of the things, all the big life choices that I made, and there were a bunch around that time, like quitting musical theater and quitting drinking and doing this and doing, standing up for myself at work and moving into a leadership. Like there were a bunch of things that happened. But debatably, the linchpin of all of this was starting to work out and starting to work with a personal trainer. And the reason I bring that up is because when we're talking about what are we built for, I think it is really, really, really important to recognize all of the functions that make us up, right? So, it's fun. So one of the things that I've definitely noticed is that the INFPs with masculine sensory, they are fucking huge. Like they are just large individuals. Bo Burnham is 6'5", and actually Bo is he was stunted. His growth was stunted. Apparently, he's supposed to be like 6'7", 6'8", but he's only 6'5". Massive individual. Pete Holmes, I think, is huge. Pete Holmes is 6'5". God, I'm trying to think of the other one. So Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell is 6'3". I think Chad Smith is like 6'4". Yeah, Chad Smith is 6'3". Okay, so they're like identical. I have not typed this person. Or I have typed this person. Shave has not typed this person. But John Mayer, I think, is another INFP with masculine. So I think he's more on the consume sleepy side of things. But again, just a massive individual. And I bring up John because if you watch him play and you look at his hands and you look at the way that he has played the guitar, the things that he does on the guitar are a direct result of how he is physically built. So he has a song called Neon. Great song. Super fucking difficult song. But the reason he can play it, and that I kind of can't play it, I can futz around with it. It is a staggeringly difficult song to do. Like there's like the lick, boom, that's exactly how it fucking goes, by the way. But doing that for 4 minutes straight, enormously difficult. But part of the reason that he can do it is that he has, so like I have reasonably so like I have long fingers, but the size of my hand, like the pad part of the hand, is fairly average, right? But I have weird fucking finger, right? These like really, really long fingers. So that lets me do things on the guitar. But John has similarly long fingers, but his hand, like the size of his hand, is just bigger. He has a much thicker, bigger thumb than I do. And so he can, you know what? I almost preset the guitar. I didn't. Give me a second. I'll go get the guitar because I'll show you sort of what I'm talking about. So I can't play it. Let's see if we can tilt this thing down, right? So in order to do all the stuff here, right, but also to like really cover, so he does on that song, he covers the top string, right? So he's moving it up and he's, so when you watch him play, he's doing a lot of this action, right? The thumb comes over the top. Well, because of the size of my hand, I can't come over the top and under the bottom very easily. Like my fingers can kind of fake it, but it's very, very, very awkward and difficult, and it's hard. It's hard to sustain. So if I were to try to play it, I have to do this weird workaround with my ring finger doing shit. It's tough, right? Another guy, right? Okay, so arguably the reason that I play guitar at all is a guy named Dave Matthews. You've probably heard of Dave Matthews from Dave Matthews Band. You know what? Now I'm just curious because I think he's more ENFP-ish. Matthews height. Okay, no, you know what? He's 6'2", so he's also a large. He might be an INFP as well. I think that he's, but again, I think he's in that realm. And the reason I say that is that he can just put more force on the guitar, on guitar strings, to make them resonate, to make them sound, to make them do things. So he'll do stuff like, so he uses his ring and pinky finger, right, to do a lot of this stuff, right, which I can kind of do, but like my fingers just aren't really built to do that. Like my pinky isn't built to sustain a lot of put enough force on there to really make a strong sound, right? So I have to go, right? So my better fingers, like middle finger, ring finger, they can do it all day. So, right? So I am built, so to speak, to move around the neck a little bit more than he is. And if you watch him, this is very inside baseball for a second. So there's a song called Satellite. It was a big hit in 1995. Fuck, that was 25 years ago. Just shows how old I am. So he used to play it like this. This is absolutely true. So this was back in 94 when he recorded this. He used to play it like this. Right? So watching, he would move his hand around the fretboard. Over time, over the next year, he developed a different picking pattern to play the same notes. So the notes are this. Right? But he developed a way to play it to go. As you could see, that is really clunky for me to play. I've been playing this song for 25 goddamn years. This should not be like, you can see how fucking hard I'm working to do the thing, right? But he does not, because the way that his hand is built, the way his hand is shaped, it is easier for him to just go do 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 do, right? So when you see him, he will move around the neck somewhat, but he really kind of stays, and he also stays down here a lot. Again, just because he just has more meat on his fucking hands, so he can make shit happen down here. Whereas I am way more comfortable up here, right? Just because of the way that my hand is built. Right, so I'm up here. Oh God, this is what happens when I try to blast and play. But I'll do this thing where it's like, all right, the bulk of the chord is here, but I'm throwing in a little note up here. Why? I don't fucking know. For playing guitar for 30 years, just this is what has organically developed as, something that I can do pretty easily. Again, I'm doing this without really thinking about it, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I've, practiced it, and everything to do with the fact that this is just a more comfortable part of the guitar for me. right? I don't know what to tell you. Dave Matthews does not hang out up here like ever. He'll do a little, like, I think the highest he really gets, like, I guess he gets up to here, but like, he doesn't hang out here. He likes to hang out down here. So, why the fucking musical interlude? Why did I bring this up? I bring it up because one of the biggest things that I have had to learn, accept, understand, lean into, whatever, is that because of my physiology, there are things that I can do on a guitar optimally that other people cannot. And there are things that other people can do on the guitar optimally that I cannot. And it does not inherently make one of us a better guitarist than the other. Let me be absolutely clear. John Mayer is a vastly better guitar player than I am by quite a bit. John Mayer can play the fuck out of the guitar. The man is unreal. But he's not unreal because of how his hand is shaped. He's unreal because he has learned how to use the big fucking meaty hand that he was given to make extraordinarily beautiful music, right? And so I bring that up. I think I might just hang on to this guitar because I like it and it's pretty and it's making me feel feelings. But I bring that up because when we're talking about how are we built, that is distinct from what are we meant to do? What are we able to do? What should we be doing? That's all very, 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 very different. Those are not the same thing. When we talk about how are we built, we are talking about it in the most low-tech, nature, biology-ish kind of way, right? It's things that, how about this? So I am not a particularly tall dude. I am 5'10" on a good day. When I am walking around doing my thing, I'm really like a lot closer to 5'9". Like I am not a large individual. But my wingspan is equivalent to that of a guy who is 6'2". So I have a 74, it's like 74 or 74 and a half inches. That's my wingspan. So based on my wing and also my legs, I wear 32, 34. So I have a 34-inch inseam. But I was severely, severely malnourished as a kid. Like I literally should not be alive. If it were not for, if I had lived, honestly, probably even if I had been born 15, 20 years before exactly when I was born, I probably would have just like died in childbirth. Like I would have died immediately. It's okay. The nuns baptized me. It would have been fine. But like, I shouldn't be here. And I bring that up in the context of biology and how I am built because like, we have to be really cognizant of the ways in which we're allowed to survive now just because of medicine, right? So someone like me at my ideal, right? If I was not a preemie, if I didn't have complications from birth, if I actually had gotten the proper nutrition from the orphanage instead of like chai tea and goat's milk, which is literally what I had for the first 8 months of my life. I had no mother's milk, no fucking nothing. I probably would be like 6'2". So again, these are all things like when we're talking about this kind of stuff, we have to be really clear about what we're looking at it for, what we're hoping to get out of it, and to be really, really clear about defining our terms. And to not just be like, well, I look like this person, so therefore I am this, right? And here's the thing, all the other INTJs with masculine sensory, right? Masculine SE at the bottom, they're all fairly tall. Let's check it out. Think Kumail might. Okay, so Kumail's 5'9", so he and I are about the same. But Hassan, Hassan Minhaj, right? Okay, so Hassan's 6 feet tall. I know that he's not technically my type twin, but we're in the same realm of like INTJ with masculine sensory, right? John Krasinski. He's 6'3", right? John Krasinski's 6'3". So like there's going to be variation for sure, but also think about that. Just be aware of that. So back to this idea of like how we are built, right? Leaving aside genetic, the things that have influenced our growth and our bones and our whatever the fuck, right? Why do we care how we are built? Why might one care how one is built? Well, I think that it's really important to understand what limitations you want to push through. So for instance, playing the guitar, my masculine sensor. So if you watch, weirdly, I'm not very good at playing like strummy folk music. Like I can't really do that like that's sort of like I can do it for a little bit, but I mean I am working my ass off to sustain this sort of like gentle feminine sensory kind of playing. I am much more comfortable like hitting the fucking thing. And even, when I was, it's weird. So like I've been playing the guitar my entire life, but my favorite instrument to play is actually the drums. I fucking love playing the drums. Drum kit, oh my God. I could play the drum kit all fucking day and I would be the happiest motherfucker alive. And I really think that on some level, my body is built to play the drums. And if you watch me play the guitar, I play the guitar like it is a drum. My right hand, like I treat the guitar as a percussion instrument first and foremost. That's it. I am all about the percussion element of playing the acoustic guitar, because that's just how I'm fucking built. I don't know what to tell you. I have tried to do it a number of different ways, and it has been to my advantage to succeed at doing things in different ways, and I can't fucking do it. I just can't fucking do it. I bring too much masculine sensory to everything I do, whether I like it or not. And I think that that's a really important thing. Bringing it back to like the intro, that's a really important thing that I just need to know about myself. And just knowing that like, fuck, you know what? No, I'm not a double feminine INTJ. I'm in a different weight class from those guys. And if you look on the doc, this is not. I'm trying to think on the new doc how it's organized. I think they go by lead animal, and then they go left to right. So it looks like I am lumped in with the rest of the INTJs, which is true to an extent, right? My lead NI, savior, double activated feminine TE, great, cool. But like on the original, this is a doc from like a couple of years ago that I like the energy of a little bit better, because what it does is it starts off with like all of the double feminines first, then the FM visuals, then the MF audios, and then the double masculines last. And I think that that's the way that their internal doc is lined up as well. But like when you break it up like that, when you see that separation between here's the Kanye West, Christian Bale, James Wedmore, Linus Tech Tips, Ty Lopez INTJs, right? The double feminines. And then you go all the way the fuck down the dock, and now you get into like me, Dave, Hassan, John Krasinski, Jeremy Johns, Kumail. You're like, oh shit, like there actually is a difference there. There is a meaningful, tangible difference in how we are built and how we move through the world that I think has to be recognized. And I mean this in a very default kind of way. And this is sort of where what I want to pivot towards is, it can be easy, depending on the environment you're in, the whatever, to get caught up in the results of like, well, this person is able to do this thing better, so therefore they are this type. I think at this point we all know that obviously that's fucked up and not true and not how any of this works. But I think it is a little harder to go, okay, well, why doesn't that work? Why is that not a good barometer? And, you get into like, okay, how about this? If you watch 5 minutes of Christian Bale and 5 minutes of Hassan Minhaj, doing an interview, giving an interview, whatever, you're like, they're kind of getting to the same place and they're kind of able to do the similar kinds of things, but also not. What's like, I'm hearing a lot of abstract, I'm hearing the NI, I'm hearing the feminine TE to hell, but they're going about getting to their point in such a different way. And this really goes back to like artistry in general. Like, what is your process? What is your optimal process for doing anything, for getting anything done? That's like one of the great joys and privileges of fucking being alive, is that we get to figure out for ourselves what our optimal process is. Because once we figure that out, then we can actually do anything, right? Because then it's not, oh, well, I can't reach this goal because I'm audio INTJ lead blaster, so I can't do these other two things. No, that is very obviously wrong. And again, I think at this point, I think we know this. But it's understanding for me, like, okay, in order for me to get to sleep town, right? For me to actually do real sleep processing, I just know that I have to get through blast, then play, then consume, and then with whatever energy I have left, then do sleep. So it's a great game, and I've talked about it on here. The game is called Hades. Game is fucking great. It is a roguelite. That's a whole other video unto itself, and why roguelites are awesome and very much like OP. But the basic premise is that you are Zagreus, the son of Hades, and you are trying to escape hell. And you have to go through the 4 levels in one shot. And then when you die, you come back, you get to get some buffs, get some power-ups, and then you take another run at it. Great, cool, fine. But part of doing the run successfully is it's not enough. So there's 4 bosses you have to fight. And so beating the game And like completing a run successfully means going, okay, I need to beat boss 1 and boss 2 without losing a life, right? Because you kind of start off with 3 lives, sort of. Once you upgrade enough, like you can effectively get you get your full life, and then sort of 3 half lives. Okay, fine. So you're doing that, and then so it's like, all right, I have to beat the first 2 bosses without losing a life. If I lose 1 life on the 3rd boss, it's not great, but it's fine because I can replenish one of them at like a refuel station. But then I have to take basically no damage for the little lead up to the final boss so that I am full health at the final boss. And so that to me is like me working through all of my functions and, and all of my animals being like, all right, I know that my process, the way that I am built, I'm going to want to do blast first, and then I'm going to want to play second, and then I'm going to want to consume. And then after I have done all 3 of those things, then and only then will I be inclined to do the sleep processing. Okay, great. So then for me, that doesn't mean jump straight to sleep. One, I don't know if that's particularly effective because my blast is pretty fucking good, but it's also making my life unnecessarily difficult often. What I am a fan of and what I have found works subjectively for me is to say, okay, let me check the boxes of human needs on my blast and play and consume. And so what I've learned to start to try to do is if I want to do the consume sleep thing, I have to give myself a little blast and a little play first, get it out of my system, and then I can do the consume sleep. One of the reasons that I fucking crushed school was because, I'm NITE blast play. I'm doubling up on my TE, expending energy before preserving it. So like, as I mentioned on here before, I was ridiculously good at just going to class. Like, oh my God, I am so good at going to class. I am a master at going to work. Like, I don't mean that abstract. I mean that quite literally. I am very, very skilled at physically going to work, going to the place of work to do the thing. I'm just fucking built for it. Great. Cool. That means that I need to know that about myself. And then I can start to go, okay, how can I leverage all of my parts to actually get all of the work done that needs doing, right? And so for me, a big part of that is once I recognize that I am a morning person, which sort of, again, ties it back into the chronotype thing. So, and again, they even said, like, I don't know, we're kind of making this up on the fly. So I'm on the spectrum, just genetically, I'm right on the cusp. I am right between lion and bear. I've read the book 4 times. I keep trying to figure out, okay, well, which is the trump card? What's the right? What trumps what? I think that I am a late rising lion rather than an early rising bear. Because for the past ever, honestly, I get up between 6:15 and 6:30 every day. I like to go to bed ideally around 10:30. I'll usually try to fall asleep between 10:30 and 10:45, and then I will try to wake up sometime between 6:15 and 6:30. And that's what I did through all of high school. In college and in New York, that got fucked up because that's just not how the social world worked. And it was really fucking hard. As I've mentioned before, I don't know that it's the number one reason I moved to California, but it is. If I say, okay, the number one reason I moved to California was to be closer to my family, for sure. I I love the Southwest. I love the West. I love the heat and the dirt and the fucking love that shit. But right below that was, and I get to be on Pacific time. Watching, oh my God, watching the Golden Globes at 5:30 in the afternoon, fucking game changer. Or sorry, the Emmys. It was the Emmys because they did it live, right? I watched the Emmys. It started at 5. It started at 5. I missed the first half hour, and then I watched it from 5:30 to 8, and then they rebroadcast the first half hour right after it because it's only fucking 8 o'clock. And I was like, oh my God, yes, this is how I am built. This is a thing that I have actively tried to fight. And when it has been in my best interest to fight and to adapt, and I couldn't do it. And that's really what I want to sort of end on is like, I think that the world these days forces us to adapt. I think that we're all getting our ass kicked sooner in life, and we are being forced to use our demons and stretch ourselves and do all sorts of different crazy shit all the time. And in a way that just because of their age, that Dave and Shan didn't fucking have to. The world was just different in 1992. It just was. So we have to acknowledge this. But I think that there are a lot of things that we recognize like, man, if my process could just be this, not the result. I don't give a fuck about the result because anybody can get whatever result they want, kind of, within reason. But basically, like, if I wanted to be an Insta guru, I probably could, right? I could figure out a way, I could do it, I could play to my strengths. But part of the reason that I haven't done it yet is, one, I don't really give a shit. But more importantly, I haven't, like, the template and the process to become that doesn't work for me. And so I'm in the process of figuring out, like, okay, well, do I care? Is there a version of this process that I can do that is a little bit more effortless and sustainable? I don't know. But I know that, like, it is and has been in my best interest to adjust my process when it comes to certain things, and haven't been able to do it despite my efforts. And I bring this up a lot, but my masculine sensory was a real bitch for a really long time, and it was a bitch on two levels. I think that if I had grown up in a household, again, so I was adopted, so there isn't even like the genetic component there. I think that if I had grown up with parents who were not as artistic and in touch with their emotions, I think that it would have been a lot different. So for instance, this is a true thing. Again, partially because I was malnourished, but my dad played football. He loves football. We love football. We're a football family. But when I was in fourth grade, there was Yaffle and Pop Warner and all this stuff. And I played football, touch football at school. And my parents had a conversation and they're like, listen, he likes playing football. We're not letting him play football. Like, he can play on the playground. That's fine. I'm super cool with that. But we're not letting him play Yaffle because his neck is too small, right? Like, my neck, especially at the time, like I again was very malnourished. I had one of those Mowgli necks, like real just bird bone to hell. And they're like, you know what? He's just gonna get hurt, right? And my dad played the guitar, and they both loved musical theater. And there was a great theater scene in Albuquerque in the late 80s and early 90s. So me being involved in the arts was socially acceptable, and it was great. Right? But it was a real bitch for me then, because the world of the performing arts, not counting specifically rock music. So rock music is definitely a masculine sensory realm. And I like that world very, very, very much. But musical theater and drama club and the visual arts and all that stuff, very feminine sensory, very, very, and same with, the world of academia is also a very feminine sensory kind of institution. And so I grew up in that and I was like, I don't know, like what isn't clicking, like what isn't working for me. And it's because my animatronics underneath just are masculine sensory. That's just a fucking thing that I have again, that's why I bring up, it would have been in my best interest to be feminine sensory and to adapt my behavior in a more feminine sensory way. And despite my best efforts and incentive to do so, couldn't get it done. I could get the same result as the feminine sensory people, but my process was completely different. It was just completely different. And I remember one of the things, and I'll maybe sort of end on this. I am a perfectly fine dancer. If you put me in don't fucking put me in Hamilton. Like I'm not Thane Jasperson. I'm not that level, right? I'm not the dude who's like lifting. I think it's Alicia. I think it's Alicia, the one, the Hamilton dancer who like plays the role of the bullet. There's a dancer, whatever. There's crazy ass dancing in Hamilton. I'm not that, but like short of that, I'm totally fine. Here's the problem: my masculine sense, like the way that they teach dance combos, it's all visual. It's all visual, and so you are expected to go, oh, I see what that person is doing. I can mimic it. And then over the course of, the teaching, the combo part, which is like a 45-minute process, you learn to put your own spin on it. You do the this, you do the that. Okay, fine, great. That's not my process. If I'm going to get something right, I literally have to physically do it over and 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 over again until the muscle memory is just fucking like I need to feel the weight changes. I need to feel the weight of everything. I cannot simply watch and mimic. I can't fucking do it. That's not how I am built. And so if all that matters is getting the result, sure, I can give you the result you want. But as soon as the process matters, and in that case, the process mattered very much because that's what the audition was, I fucking flounder. And I look like a jackass who can't pick up dance combinations because I can't just watch something and immediately mimic it. On the other end of the spectrum, if you give me a piece of sheet music and I can go, oh, right, notes do this. Cool. I can kind of sight read it, but it's a different thing. It's the like, oh, right, I see what these notes are and I understand the muscles and the physicality. And yes, some of that is absolutely practice for sure. But even there, like I still flounder, right? If I'm really going to get it right, I need to just keep singing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. That is my process. So what I want to leave you with, if you take nothing else away from this, separate the process from the result. When we're talking about typing somebody, we are talking about the process that one takes to get to whatever result they're trying to get to. It is not about who can get a certain end result, because anybody can get kind of whatever end result they want. If I want to, lose, 6 pounds, if I want to go down to, 160 pounds, right? And then start packing on muscle, I could do that. So could someone with feminine sensory. So could somebody with masculine savior SI. Like, we could all get the same result. But the question is, what is our individual process to get there? That's what I'm really, really interested in. And I think it's really important to understand your process and to own your process and to love your process, because throughout the day, that's all you are. You're just processes. And so wishing your process was something different, that is the fastest road to upsetness. Fastest road to upsetness. You're much, much, much better off being like, okay, again, in my instance, I know that as a sleep last INTJ, as I mentioned in previous videos, like I'm just a little off kilter. Like I'm not looking at the INTJ. I'm not a pure INTJ. I'm not quite an EJ. I have a better vision of SE most of the time than I do the FI. Like it's weird, but I understand that. And I go, okay, I know that I have a bigger FI blind spot than most INTJs, and I'm better at SE than most INTJs as well. Okay, cool. That's going to inform my process. And so when I'm trying to learn and do whatever, it really does become about going, okay, this is totally made up. This is not a real thing. Please don't take this to the bank. But I've started to see myself as lead NI with FI last. Because that's my process. I process things in the order of NI, TE, SE, FI. And so my job is to not stop at SE, and it's to go, okay, if I'm getting to the SE thing, if it's feeling good on the SE, I still have one more step to go. Even though I should have hit my FI, that's not my process. So if I'm actually going to get shit done, I have to go, okay, I did the NI, I did the TE, I did the SE, and now I have to do the FI. And so if I know I need to do a lot of FI work, my job is to get through the TE, the NI, the TE, and the SE as quickly as possible so that I have enough energy at the end to do the SE. Or sorry, to do the FI, right? Because I've worked with my first 3 functions, again, because I'm a weirdo glass lizard. Now I actually have the time to devote to it, and I don't leave something on the table because I'm unaware, I don't wanna, whatever, million fucking reasons. So figure out your process, understand your process, own your process, and recognize like, okay, my optimal process is this. How do I leverage this to get done anything I want and everything that needs to get done so that I can accomplish what I want without a lot of fight? All right, that's all I got for today. Thank you for hanging out with me and listening to me play my guitar for you. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.